Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor P. Bhaskar Reddy, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. This is the paper on outlines of Indian history. The present module deals with the history of Vijayanagara Empire. It is known that the establishment of Vijayanagara Empire marks a new beginning in the history of India. The Vijayanagara Empire, which established in the middle of 13th century, they dominated the destinies of South India for more than 300 years. In these 300 years, they not only brought unity in the South Indian territories and also played an important role in political and cultural history. Politically, they not only get the balance in South Indian territories, at the same time they checked the rising powers of Bahmanis and Portuguese in the same period. Culturally, as a champions of Hindu religion and Hindu Dharma, they contributed a lot for the development of Indian culture by observing toleration. By the end of this module, you will be able to learn about the Vijayanagara Empire, the topics like to trace the relative importance of the different theories of its origin, to understand what political circumstances different dynasties came to power in Vijayanagara kingdom, to know the achievements of prominent Vijayanagara rulers and their contribution, to know the relations of the Vijayanagara rulers with the Bahmani, Reddy, Gajapati dynasties of contemporary age, to understand the administrative procedure, social and economic conditions of the period, and also to study the developments in literature, art and architecture. With these objectives, let us start our discussion. The significance of the Vijayanagara Empire as introduction. You know that in the middle of 14th century AD, India was under the effective rule of the Tughlaqs. When the Tughlaqs were at the height of glory, the foundation of Vijayanagara Empire was laid down in 1336. It constitutes a great event in South India. The declining of Delhi Sultanate gave birth to two mighty states in South India. The one is the Vijayanagara Empire and the other is Bahmani Kingdom. They came into establish almost simultaneously in the same region towards the south of the Krishna River and towards the north of the Krishna River. It is known that the Vijayanagara Empire was founded by Harihara and Bukka. It aimed at protecting and promoting the Hindu Dharma and Hindu culture. Besides promoting Hindu Dharma and culture, it also indirectly prevented the extension of the influence of Bahmani Kingdom and its offshoots in the north, where the power of Delhi Sultanate had already considerably weakened by keeping them constantly engaged in the south. Regarding the origin of the Vijayanagara Empire, it is a debate among the historians. It is known that the Vijayanagara Empire was founded by Harihara and Bukka I, the sons of Sangama. But the scholars argued differently about their historical background. So the study of historical background is also essential to know about how the dynasty was started and how they dominated its destinies. The background of the founders of the empire is shrouded in obscurity. There are two traditions connecting them with Andhra as well as Karnataka. Scholars differ to which area the Sangama brothers Harihara and Bukka were belonged. It is known that at first in the service of the Kakatiyan ruler Prataparudra. After the Muslim conquest of Kakatiyan kingdom in 1323, they went to kingdom of Kampili in Karnataka and also became ministers there. In the year 1327, when the Muhammad bin Tughlaq annexed Kampili, these two brothers who were in the service of the Kampili Raya were made as a prisoner of war and they were taken to Delhi and converted to Islam. It is all known historical facts related to Harihara and Bukka. In 1335, when Tughlaq provinces in south were in a state of turmoil, the Sultan released them and sent as a commanders of the Tughlaq to restore the order in the south. As per the directions of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the Harihara and Bukka came to south and they established their sway over Kampili, first for the Sultan. Later on, the Sangama brothers, it is said to be that they returned to Hindu fold at the initiative of Saint Vidyaranya, and later on they proclaimed independence and laid the foundation of the mighty Vijayanagara kingdom. Some scholars argued that the Harihara and Bukka were the Kannada origin based on the theory related to Hoysala dynasty. Father Heras is of the opinion that the foundation of the city of Anagondi, which formed the cradle of the Vijayanagara Empire, was laid by Veeraballala III, the Hoysala king, and the Harihara, who was a near relative of the family of Hoysala king, was a frontier officer with headquarters there. Thus, based on this, some scholars argued that the Hoysala theory was attributed and the foundation was laid by these Harihara and Bukka, who were the frontier officers under Hoysala dynasty. So whatever the theories it may be, whatever the background it may be, it is a certain that the Vijayanagara Empire was founded by Harihara and Bukka, the sons of Sangama. The four dynasties ruled over the Vijayanagara Empire in succession from 1336 to 1675. They were Sangama dynasty, which ruled 150 years from 1336 to 1485. The second dynasty, Saluva dynasty, 1485 to 1505. The Tuluva dynasty, which is one of the important dynasty over Vijayanagar, ruled from 1503 to 1570, and the last Aravidu dynasty, 1570 to 1675. With this discussion on the origin, let us start the discussion on political history of the Vijayanagaras. The first dynasty which ruled over the Vijayanagara Empire is Sangama dynasty, where they ruled 150 years. Harihara the first was one of its founders along with Bukka the first. The kingdom of Vijayanagar expanded largely by the efforts of both these brothers. In the first instance, the infant Vijayanagara kingdom had to contend with Hoysala ruler of Mysore and the Sultan of Madurai. But the dissolution of the Hoysala kingdom enabled the Harihara and Bukka to expand the Vijayanagara principality to entire South India. By the year 1346 itself, the whole of Hoysala kingdom passed into the hands of Vijayanagara. To celebrate these conquests, when the Vijayanagara Empire was successful in laying foundation and expanding their territories, the Vijayanagara kings and their families visited Sringeri to offer homage the sage Vidyarana, the head of Mata. When the Vijayanagara kings were celebrating their victorious activities, in the very next year marks another important development in the history of the South, that is the establishment of Bahmani dynasty with the capital at Gulbarga. It is known that with the establishment of Bahmani dynasty, since the beginning up to the end, these two mighty kingdoms came into conflict for dominate over the Deccan politics. It is also necessary to discuss the developments that took place in Bahmani kingdom to understand the Vijayanagara and Bahmani relations and the history of South India as a whole. The Bahmani kingdom was established in 1347. It posed a new threat to the rising kingdom of Vijayanagar. It is known that the Bahmani kingdom arose out of many revolts that broke in the Tughlaq Empire. Hassan Gangu alias Jafar Khan was the founder of this dynasty with the capital at Gulbarga in Karnataka. He assumed the title of Alauddin Bahmani Shah. Alauddin Bahmani Shah, after the establishment of the Bahmani dynasty, with an intention to expand his territorial limits attacked Vijayanagara twice in the year 1349 and also in the year 1354. The results of this clash, according to Hindu sources, they claim that Harihara I defeated Alauddin, whereas later styled himself as Second Alexander in his coins. This was the beginning of the conflict between the Bahmani kingdom and Vijayanagara Empire for political dominance of the south. When the Bahmani dynasty was established, Harihara was succeeded by another founding member, Bukka I, who ruled in between 1356 to 1377. Bukka I also took up the task of strengthening and expanding the Vijayanagara kingdom. During his time, two important political events happened. The first one is the Vijayanagara Bahmani conflict. He fought with the Bahmani Sultan Muhammad Shah I and signed a treaty with him, which made him virtual master of the Krishna Tungabhadra Doab region. The reign of Bukka I is also famous for the Madura campaign undertaken to overthrow the Madura Sultanate by his son Kumara Kampana in the year 1371. The details of the conquest of Madura are recorded in a historical work, Madura Vijaymu, written by Kampana's wife Ganga Devi. Besides the political interest, the Bukka I reign is also important. In the field of foreign affairs, Bukka I sent an embassy to Ming dynasty in the annals of China. Thus, the Harihara I and also Bukka I, who were the founders of the Vijayanagara Empire, they laid a strong foundation for the Vijayanagara Empire, which it paved the way for the successful rule of 300 and half centuries. Now, the third ruler is of the Sangama dynasty is Harihara II, who ruled in between 1377 to 1404. Harihara II also consolidated the new kingdom. He continued to wage wars against the Bahmanis. It is said that he waged a war with the Bahmanis for the possession of the Raichuru Doab, situated between Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers, which formed a bone of contention between these two kingdoms. The ports on the west coast like Goa, Kaul, Dabhol were also captured from the Bahmanis by the Harihara II. He extended his dominions by the conquest of Kannada region, Mysore state, and also Tiruchinappalli and Kanchi from Tamil regions. He had matrimonial alliances with the Reddy dynasty of coastal Andhra. Thus, during the time of Harihara II also, the Vijayanagara territorial limits extended over a major portion of Karnataka and also some parts of Tamil Nadu. In the history of the Sangamas, the most important king is Devaraya I, who ascended the throne in 1406 and ruled up to 1422. He was an important king. Tajuddin Firoz Shah was the contemporary of the Bahmani dynasty. He was also a greatest of the Bahmani sultans. Both fought a war and ultimately Firoz scored a victory in the initial stages. Later on, Devaraya I at a later date inflicted a crushing defeat on Firoz Shah and annexed the entire territory up to the mouth of Krishna river. And Devaraya I, besides the wars with the Bahmanis, he also undertook a number of schemes for the welfare of the people. His period also witnessed the visit of the Italian traveler Niccolo di Conte, and he gave a graphic description of the city of Vijayanagar and its conditions. Devaraya I was succeeded by Ramachandra, where he ruled only 6 months, followed by Vijaya I. After confusion of some political uncertainty, the Sangama dynasty once again witnessed a powerful ruler, Devaraya II. He was the greatest sovereign of this dynasty. The inscriptions speak of his title Gaja Betakara, that is elephant hunter. Devaraya II also waged many wars with Bahmanis and local powers and scored victories and occupied vast regions. By the year 1424, taking advantage of the declining of the Reddy dynasty of East Coast, Devaraya annexed the Kondavedu territory from them. Devaraya II also defeated the Gajapatis of Orissa, who rose to prominence in the middle of the 15th century and tried to occupy the east coast. He also carried his armies into Kerala, subjugating the ruler of Kilan and their other chieftains. The Jamorin of Kajikot was allowed to remain independent after some treaty. He also carries his arms into Kerala, subjugating the ruler of Kilan and other chieftains. He compromised with the Jamorin of Kajikot, where he allowed to remain as independent. Alauddin II was the Bahmani Sultan. In the initial stages, Vijayanagara forces were beaten by the Bahmani forces. In order to strengthen his army and to make a counteract against the Bahmani inroads, he inducted many Muslims in army and asked all his Hindu soldiers and officers to learn the art of archery. Devaraya II fought 3 battles against the Bahmani dynasty rulers, but in the end, 2 parties agreed to existing boundaries. Thus, neither gained advantage over the other. His period also witnesses several visitors, particularly the Persian traveler Abdul Razak visited Vijayanagar in the reign of Devaraya II. According to him, the Vijayanagara Empire extended from Sri Lanka to Gulbarga and Orissa to Mabar. Devaraya II, besides showing interest in the political matters, he also contributed for the cultural development of the region. He was a great builder and a patron of poets. He himself was an accomplished scholar in Sanskrit and credited with the authorship of 2 Sanskrit works, Mahanataka Sudhanidhi and a commentary on the Brahma Sutras of Badarayana. The great exquisite Hajara Rama temple was also built during his reign. The Vijayanagara Empire constantly grown under the able kings of the Sangama dynasty up to Devaraya II. After the death of Devaraya II, the war of succession occurred for the succession of the throne, and because of this political uncertainty, it resulted the declining of Sangama dynasty and the prestige of the Vijayanagara Empire from that period onwards. The reign of Vijayalaya II and Mallikarjuna rule saw the declining of the Sangama dynasty. The weakness of Mallikarjuna was exploited by Alauddin II, the Bahmani ruler, and also the Kapileswara Gajapati of Orissa. Virupaksha II was the last ruler of Sangama dynasty. Actually, there was a confusion in Vijayanagara Empire after the death of Devaraya II. There was a series of civil wars among various contenders that throne. Many feudatories, taking advantage of the declining of central authority, assumed independence in the process. After some time, the throne was usurped by the king's minister Saluva Narasimha. Thus, the Sangama dynasty came to an end, and this second dynasty, Saluva dynasty, was established. The overthrow of Sangama dynasty is known as first usurpation. With the usurpation of Saluva Narasimha, the 150 years rule of Sangama dynasty came to an end, and the second dynasty, Saluva dynasty, came to rule over Vijayanagara Empire. The short reign of Saluva dynasty from 1485 to 1505 also witnessed the rule of 2 kings, and their achievements are also important to assess the history of the Vijayanagara. Saluva Narasimha was the founder of Saluva dynasty. Originally, he was the provincial governor of Chandragiri Raja. He was a capable ruler who recovered most of the territories which had been annexed by the Bahmani sultans and also the ruler of Orissa. Narasimha was succeeded by his 2 sons in quick succession. They were kept under the care of his minister Narasanayaka and made him the regent, and he played an important role in the Saluva dynasty since then. The elder Timma was a crowned king, but he was murdered by his own family members, so the younger Immadi Narasimha was anointed. Immadi Narasimha, who ruled in between 1491 to 1505, he was only a nominal king under the regent Narasanayaka. Narasimha retained all powers and even assumed the royal title. Imadi Narasimha was even removed to Penukonda and kept him in close surveillance for over a decade. After the Narasimha, the regency passed into his son Veera Narasimha. The lawful king Imadi Narasimha was assassinated in the year 1505. Veera Narasimha became the actual ruler of the Vijayanagara Empire. Thus, the second dynastic rule of the Saluvas came to an end in the name of usurpation, and the third dynasty, Tuluva dynasty, rose to rule over the Vijayanagara Empire. It is known that the Tuluva dynasty is an important dynasty where this dynasty represents most powerful kings like Sri Krishna Deva Raya, Achyutaraya and regency of Ramaraya. Let us know about what is the role of Tuluva dynasty in Vijayanagara history. Before going to discuss about the Tuluva dynasty, it is necessary to know about political developments that took place in Bahmani dynasty. It is known that the Bahmani dynasty also reached the highest watermark in political matters in the end of 15th century AD during the reign of Muhammad III and his able Prime Minister Gavan. Later on, the Bahmani dynasty also started its disintegration. One of the difficult problems which faced Bahmani kingdom was strife among the nobles. The nobles were divided into long established Deccanis and newcomers. As a newcomer, Muhammad Gavan was hard to win the confidence of the Deccanis. Unfortunately, the hostile party carried to the Sultan many tales against Gavan. The result was that the innocent Gavan was executed in the year 1482. The party strife now even more intense and the governors became independent. The Bahmani kingdom, as a result, divided into 5 principalities, that is Bijapur, Ahmadnagar, Berar, Golconda and Bidar Sultanates. Among these, Ahmadnagar and Bijapur, Golconda played an important role in the Deccan politics when the Tuluva dynasty rose to prominence. Now, the Tuluva dynasty, as a third dynasty, they ruled 75 years. This is an important phase in the history of Vijayanagara Empire. Veera Narasimha was the founder of the Tuluva dynasty. He ruled only a short period of 4 years. The usurpation of the Tuluvas must have its own repercussions, and because of that many nobles revolted against the central administration. Nunez says that the whole land revolted under its captains. Veera Narasimha had to engage endless warfare against internal enemies and also Bahmanis to strengthen his position. However, he maintained cordial relations with the Portuguese who already came to south and established their factories with an intention of getting the supplying of horses to make his cavalry wing strong. He also made munificent gifts to all the important shrines of South India, and within a short period he not only established the Tuluva dynasty and he tried to strengthen his power and to control the rising powers of the Portuguese and also Bahmanis. He was succeeded by his brother Sri Krishna Deva Raya. You know that in the history of the Vijayanagara Empire, Sri Krishna Deva Raya was the most celebrated king. He was the greatest ruler in the history of India as well as particularly in the Vijayanagara Empire. He raised Vijayanagara to the zenith of its prosperity and glory. This period witnessed success in the political front as well as in the cultural front. There was an internal trouble when the Sri Krishna Deva Raya succeeded the throne, and particularly the Ummatturu chief rebelled against the central authority of the Vijayanagara. Externally, the Sultan of Bijapur was in possession of the Raichuru Dome. The Gajapati ruler of Orissa had under his control the area from Udaygiri to east coast. In addition to he had to contend with the Portuguese, whose power was rapidly going. With this, Sri Krishnadevara started his career with many difficulties, and within a short period he came out successful by annexing a major portion of South India by defeating all the political powers. Let us start with his achievements. Sri Krishnadevara first task was to repulse the Bahmani forces. The progress of the Muslim armies was checked and they were defeated. Yusuf Adil Shah, the Bijapur Sultan, was killed in the battle and he was thrown into confusion. The Raichur Dub also passed into the hands of Vijayanagara. He successfully invaded the Gulbarga, the erstwhile capital of the Bahmanis, and also Bidar, and restored the lawful Bahmani Sultan to the throne. To commemorate this act of restoration of Bahmani monarchy, Krishnadevaraya assumed the title of Yavana Raja Sthapanacharya. The restoration of Bahmani kingdom, it was an act of statesmanship as the polity under the Vijayanagara kings. Sri Krishnadevaraya suppressed the rebellions of the chief Ummatturu, and he successfully captured and seized the ports of Srirangapatana and Sivasamudram. His next campaign was against Prataparudra Gajapati of Orissa. It was almost a 7-year war, and finally compelled Prataparudra to restore the Vijayanagara, all the territories up to the river Krishna, and also concluded with matrimonial alliance. Sri Krishnadevaraya also defeated the Golconda Sultan and occupied many forts in Telangana region. When Sri Krishnadevaraya busy with his East Coast campaigns, Yusuf Adil Shah's son Ismail Adil Shah recaptured Raichur, and this was the reason for the second conflict with the Bijapur ruler and Sri Krishnadevaraya. In the year 1520, according to Ferista, a big battle was fought on the banks of Krishna, in which the Sultan was defeated and Raichur was captured. He maintained a friendly relations with the Portuguese who had made their settlements in seacoast. It is known that Albuquerque, the Portuguese governor of Goa, sent a diplomatic trade mission to Vijayanagara in the year 1510 and secured many concessions from its monarch. Thus, the Portuguese established their permanent trade center by making Agra as their principal center. Under Krishnadevaraya, the Vijayanagara emerged as the strongest military power in south by wars and also diplomatic relations. With this wars and diplomatic relations, it is the fact that Sri Krishnadevaraya is considered as one of the most important ruler in the history of India of the age. Sri Krishnadevaraya occupies a unique place among the rulers of South India. Italian visitor Pace, who spent number of years at Sri Krishnadevaraya's court, has given a glorious account of his personality. According to him, he was a versatile genius and made his mark as a great warrior, able administrator, and a liberal patron of art and literature. The king himself was the author of Amuktamalida, one of the masterpieces in the Telugu language, and also Sanskrit work Jambavati Kalyanam. He patronized the Sanskrit language as well as the regional languages like Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada. Because of that, he was known as Andhra Bhoja. His court was adorned with East Diggajas. It was the age of the poets, and his court Bhuvana Vijayamu was adorned by 8 literary luminaries known as Ashtadikkajas. Among the Ashtadikkajas, Allarsani Peddana was the greatest, described as Andhra Kavita Pitamaha. Peddana was personally honored by Emperor for his proficiency in Sanskrit and Telugu. The remaining Ashtadikkajas, Nandi Timmana, Madai Gari Mallana, Durjati, Ayal Raj Ramabhadra, Pingali Surana, Ramaraja Bhushana, Tenali Ramalinga were also great luminaries who flourished and received patronage under the celebrated ruler Sri Krishnadevaraya. He also completed the Hajararama temple and Vitala temples, which was started during the time of Devaraya. He also builds a new city called Nagalapura in memory of his mother Nagamba. From this discussion, I hope we may understood the greatness of Sri Krishna Devaraya both in war and diplomacy, and also his contribution for the cultural history of the South. After Sri Krishna Devaraya, because he is not having any sons, he was succeeded by his brother Achyutaraya, who ruled from 1529 to 1542. Achyutaraya also repulsed the invasion of the Bijapur Sultan Ismail Adil Shah. He defeated the Gajapati ruler and the Sultan of Golconda. The king's achievements chronicled in a Sanskrit work, Achyuta Ramabhidemu, written by Rajanatha Dindima. Achyuta was succeeded by his son Venkata I, who ruled for just 6 months, and he was succeeded by Sadasivaraya. After Achyutaraya, he was succeeded by Sadasivaraya, who ruled in between 1542 to 70. During his time, the Sadasivaraya was a weak ruler and left the entire administration in the hands of its minister Ramaraya. Ramaraya was an able administrator but ambitious and tactless. Ramaraya, to increase his popularity and power, he adopted every measure to improve his position and power. To strengthen his position, he destroyed many of ancient nobility and raised his own family in the highest rank. However, the Ramaraya's relation with the Portuguese were by no means always friendly. In the initial stages, he maintained cordial relations with the Portuguese, but later on, for various reasons, he also averted with the Portuguese. Then the important aspect of this period is the Vijayanagara Bahmani relations and results of their wars. Ramaraya's policy towards the Muslim states of Deccan was clumsy and complex. He began to admit in large number of Muslims into army. He interfered in the quarrels of sultans with a view to restore the prestige of Vijayanagara, but on account of his frequent involvement with the affairs of Deccan states, he made all of them enemies. The Deccan sultans realized that their disunity gave the advantage to Ramaraya. Particularly the humiliations of Ahmednagar and Golconda persuaded the Deccan Sultanate to forget their difference and form a grand alliance against Vijayanagara and decided to wage a combined war. The results of this clash between Vijayanagara and Bahmani forces is the Talikota battle. Talikota battle is an important historical battle which occurred between Vijayanagara and Bahmani forces. Actually, this battle was begun in the year 1564. The Deshu battle took place in the year 1565. This battle is known as Talikota or Rachasastangadi. In the course of war, the Bahmani forces started their attack. It is said that Ramaraya suffered defeat and killed in the battle, and the Bahmani sources killed nearly 1 lakh soldiers during the battle. After the death of Ramaraya, the Vijayanagara camp was plundered by the Muslim soldiers. The victorious Bahmani forces entered into the city of Vijayanagar. They started the destruction. They mercilessly destroyed the magnificent palaces, temples, and got into fire. This battle is generally considered as to mark the end of the great age of Vijayanagar. The Talikota battle and the defeat of the Vijayanagara forces and the destruction of the Vijayanagara city, all these are the important political aspects regarding the Vijayanagara and Bahmani relations. But the success of the Bahmani dynasty in the Talikota battle, it is not the end of the declining of the Vijayanagara power. However, the Vijayanagara power continued another 100 years, but not in the same glory. The fourth dynasty that ruled over the Vijayanagara empire is Aravidu dynasty. The defeat of the Talikota battle, however, it reduced the military, economy, and territorial strength of the Vijayanagara empire. In fact, the empire continued to exist until the middle of the 17th century. Sadasiva, the puppet ruler who was in close surveillance, was deposed by Tirumala, the brother of Ramaraya, in the year 1570. He set up his headquarters at Penugonda and tried to revive the glory of the Vijayanagara Empire by declaring himself as the king. This act of Tirumala inaugurated the rule of Aravidu dynasty. During his short reign, he was troubled by the revolting nobles and the invasions of the Sultan of Bijapur. Tirumala was succeeded by several incompetent rulers like Srirangadi I, Venkatadi II, Venkatadi III and Srirangadi II. They could not provide any stable administration except during the reign of Venkatadi II. The Aravidu ruler Venkatadi II made Chandragiri as capital and reorganized the revenue administration. During his reign, the Dutch and English companies began to establish their factories on the east coast. In the political matters are concerned, the civil war was occurred after the death of Venkatadi II, which lasted for about 15 years. It provided an opportunity to the Muslim rulers of Bijapur and Golconda, ultimately sapped the strength of the Vijayanagara Empire. The last of the Vijayanagara ruler is Srirangadi III. He was the last king for the namesake. His sovereignty was not acknowledged by the Nayaks of South. Taking advantage of the weakness of the central government, their subordinates such as the Nayaks of Tanjavur, Madura, Jinji and several others declared their independence. Thus, the Vijayanagara Empire, which began in 1336, the Vijayanagara rulers, after its establishment, they brought a major portion of South India under their control. At the same time, they also checked the rising new powers of the Bahmani Sultanates and also the Portuguese. Besides political aspects, the Vijayanagara contribution to cultural history is also immense and everlasting. Now we shall look into what they contributed for the Indian culture. The Vijayanagara rulers not only showed interest in the expansion of their territories and equal attention showed in producing a systematic administration, which Vijayanagara polity is having many unique features. They established an administrative system which was suitable to the needs of those times, respecting the traditional systems. Their polity characterized by strong center with a scheme of decentralization. In theory and practice, monarchy was the main characteristic feature of Vijayanagara polity. The emperor was head of the administration under monarchical form of government. The fundamental duty of the Vijayanagara king was to provide security to his subjects and redress their grievance. Sri Krishna Deva Raya, in his Amuktamalida, clearly defines the duties of the king. In carrying their administration, the Vijayanagara rulers were advised by a council comprising of ministers, governors, military warriors, Brahmin priests, scholars, artists in discharge of royal functions. The office of the minister was sometimes hereditary. The empire was divided into several administrative units. The biggest unit was the province. The provinces were in turn divided into Nadu, Sima, Sthala and Grama. The village was the basic unit of administration. Reddy was the in charge of law and order, whereas Karanam had to keep the detailed account of the village land. Thus, the Vijayanagara rulers established an effective central administration from king to lower level village. Besides that, the Vijayanagara rulers also took keen interest in administering the other aspects of central authority known as revenue administration. The land revenue was the main source of income. It had an efficient system of land revenue administration under the separate department called Attavane. They took considerable interest in the development of irrigational facilities and agriculture. In addition to the land revenue, the state used it to collect various taxes like grazing tax, marriage tax, tax on gardens, mines, professional taxes, custom duties, tolls, etc. The Vijayanagara rulers also took lot of interest in maintaining the judicial administration and to establish law and order situation peacefully in their empire. Abdul Razak, one of the traveler, gives some interesting information regarding the judicial administration. In this, the king was the highest court of appeal. In all important cases, his word was final. The administration of criminal law was very severe. Regarding the punishments, theft, adultery and treason were punished with death and mutilation of limbs. Whereas in the lower level also they established a systematic judicial administration. The Nayaks and Gondas were empowered to settle the cases in their respective jurisdiction. Sometimes the disputes were also settled by the state officials with the cooperation of the local bodies like village panchayats and guilds. It is known that the Vijayanagara rulers waged many wars both locally as well as externally to control the rising powers of the south. To meet this war contingency, they took lot of interest in maintaining a good army which was strengthened in several stages by following different policies. The military organization was under the control of department called Kandachari. It was kept under the control of Dandanayaka or the commander-in-chief. They took sufficient care in maintaining not only strong and efficient army. The army of the Vijayanagara age consisted of infantry, cavalry, elephantry, camels and artillery. To strengthen their cavalry, hybrid horses were procured from the foreign countries and traders. The army was trained by the foreigners like Arabs, Portuguese and the Italians. In the maintenance of army organization, fortress played a large part in the defense organization. Another important aspect of their military organization was the Nayankara system, which became popular in South India in Vijayanagara age. Besides establishing an effective administrative system, the Vijayanagara rulers, as a champions of Hindu Dharma, they also took keen interest in promoting the social institutions and religious institutions of the age. By maintaining religious tolerance, the Hindus during this period, the Hindus constituted the bulk of population, although a large number of Muslims and Jews besides some European traders also enjoyed happily because the Vijayanagara rulers observed tolerance. Regarding the society of the south is concerned, the traditional fourfold division of society continued without any changes. The kings of the age tried their best to preserve the Varna system. The foreign travelers left vivid accounts on the splendor of the Vijayanagara buildings and luxurious social life in the city of Vijayanagara. Particularly, Pace, one of the visitors, mentions of the beautiful houses of rich and also large number of household servants who are working in aristocracy families. The age is also famous for perfumes, flowers and ornaments which were available plenty like air and water in Vijayanagara city, Hampi. The important feature of the social life was spending their peaceful life in the celebration of several festivals and amusements. It is known that dance, music, wrestling, gambling and cockfights were some of the amusements. The women occupied highest position in the society. They took leading part in the social, political and religious life. It is known that some of the women were also learned, where they authored several works of eminence in Sanskrit as well as regional languages. According to Nunez, a large number of women were employed in royal palaces as dancers and domestic servants. According to Nunez, a large number of women were employed in royal palaces as dancers and domestic servants. As a result, the Devadasi system was an important social institution, existed, and it became one of the important feature of the medieval society. The child marriages were common, big dowries were demanded at the time of marriage, sati system was also in vogue and it was sanctioned by the Brahmanas. The Vijayanagara kings followed the policy of religious toleration, particularly the Sangama rulers who were Saivites, and Virupaksha was their family deity, whereas the Saluva, Tuluva and Aravidu rulers were Vaishnavites. Sri Vaishnavism of Ramanuja was gained popular in the 15th and 16th century AD. Regarding the religious policy of the Vijayanagaras, one of the foreigner, Barbosa, he states that Krishnadevaraya treated Saivites, Vaishnavites, Jains, Christians, Jews and Moors with kindness, compassion and affection. This shows about how the Vijayanagara rulers followed the religious tolerance and treated all the communities of the society as equal. Muslims were also employed in the administration and they were freely allowed to build their mosques and worship. It is known that Devaraya II enlisted so many Muslims into the army, and even Ramaraya also followed the same policy, and even they permitted to construct a mosque in the Vijayanagara capital Hampi for the prayers of the Muslims. That shows about the religious policy and tolerance observed by the Vijayanagara rulers. It is an important aspect of the Vijayanagara age. Besides the social and religious institutions, the Vijayanagara age witnessed a remarkable development in the literary activity and the languages. The Vijayanagara kings were great patrons of education and learning. It witnessed tremendous growth in the development of Dravidian languages, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, besides the Sanskrit. The reign of Sri Krishnadevaraya was a glorious epoch in the literary activity, where his court was adorned by 8 literary luminaries known as Ashtadhyagas. One of the important contributions made by the Vijayanagara rulers to the Indian culture is in the field of art, architecture and painting. Vijayanagara age witnessed remarkable development in all these fields. The ruins of the world capital Hampi, it proclaimed to the world that the Vijayanagara emperors were great builders, and they are the museum specimens to know about the artistic excellence of the age. It is known that the Vijayanagara rulers were responsible for the construction of several temples in South India. Their temples are very lofty, both in design, technique and also in cultural preservation. The Vijayanagara temples are generally sumptuous, lofty, with imposing gateways and grand in great design and conception. They are provided with several architectural adjuncts like pillared mandapas, kalyana mandapas, prakara walls with pillared corridor, separate signs for gods and goddesses, subsidiary signs for parivara devatas and lofty gopura dwaras. Among the various temples that were constructed during the Vijayanagara age, the Vittaleswara and Hajarana temples were the best examples of this style to study the art and artistic excellence of the Vijayanagara age. The Varadaraja temple and Ekambara Nada temple at Kanchi, they also stand as examples for the magnificent of the Vijayanagara style of temple architecture. Have a look at the temples of Kanchi, Varadaraja and Ekambara Nada. Besides the Hajarama and Vittaleswara temple, the temples at Kanchi, Varadaraja temple and Ekambara Nada temple are also important temples to study the art and architecture excellence of the Vijayanagara age. Besides the construction of the temples, they also took lot of interest in manufacturing different metal images of gods and goddesses. Several temples have a beautiful images of gods and goddesses made with Panchaloha metals. Among that, the metal images of Sri Krishnadevaraya and his queens at Tirumala are also the examples of casting of metal images during the age. The art of painting also received due recognition and patronage at the hands of Vijayanagara emperors. The best preserved paintings are found in Veerabhadra Swami temple at Lepakshi. So far we discussed about the Vijayanagara history, both in political aspects as well as the cultural contribution made by the Vijayanagara rulers. To sum up, the Vijayanagara period is one of the brilliant chapters and also represent the last great Hindu phase in annals of India. The empire at its zenith embraces the whole of South India and some parts of Deccan. It is known from the inscriptions, literary works and the information given by the foreign travelers that the Vijayanagara kings organized solid and sound administration, developed agriculture, fostered trade and industry, observed religious toleration, promoted literature, art, architecture and painting. Thus, the Vijayanagara age is an important age in the history of India. Their contribution to Indian history is immense and everlasting. For more details, you go through the e-text. Thank you.